Well, good morning, Flatirons. My name's Dan. It's so great to be with you this morning. Why don't you stand? Whether this is your first time or whether you've been coming to Flatirons for years, I think it's helpful for us to all understand what we're about to do. We're going to worship together, and I've heard worship described like breathing. We breathe in the truth of who God is and what He's done, and then we breathe out our praise in response. And that's exactly what we're going to do when we sing together. And just like breathing, it's going to keep us alive. Psalm 103, which is a song in the Bible, describes this rhythm so beautifully. It says, "Praise the Lord, O my soul, and all that is within me, praise His holy name. Praise the Lord, O my soul, and forget not all His benefits, who forgives all your sins, who heals all your diseases, who redeems your life from the pit, and who crowns you with love and compassion, who satisfies your desires with good things, so that your strength will be renewed like the eagles." Flatirons, let's put some air in our lungs. You, my God, forgive my sin. You, my God, heal your brokenness. In you, my God, my life redeemed. You crown me with love and with mercy. Here we go. Oh, my soul will praise the Lord. Oh, my soul.
My soul will praise the Lord. was your enemy, you showed me mercy, mercy, when I feel unworthy. You say I'm royalty. When I was found guilty, you gave your life for me, life for me. When I feel unwanted, you come and fight for me. You're humble and patient, you're gracious and kind. You lift up the lowly. Lord, give me your heart. I wanna be more, more, more like Jesus. More, more, more like you. God, take my heart and change me. I wanna be more, more, more like Jesus. And when I feel thrown away, you are a home for me, home for me. Your love is my freedom. Your cross is my victory. You're humble and patient. You're gracious and kind. Yes, you lift up the lowly. Lord, give me your heart, 'cause I wanna be more, more, more like Jesus. More, more, more like you. God, take my heart and change me. I wanna be more, more, more like Jesus.
Right. Good morning, everybody. We're so glad you guys are here. Thanks so much for spending your morning with us. We'd love if you just take a moment, greet someone around you, shake someone's hand next to you, and you can have a seat.
Hey Flatirons Church, I'm Jake Bodine, founder and CEO of God Behind Bars. I'm so excited to be here with you this weekend, just to give you an update on all that God has done through your generosity. In fact, this last Christmas, you guys blessed us with an unbelievable gift. In fact, it was the largest single donation that our organization has ever received in its history. And so I want to say thank you for that, but I also want to share with you on what God has done through that gift. We immediately took it. We took the $7 7,000 prayer cards and Christmas cards that you guys wrote, and we inserted them into Christmas gifts last Christmas, and we passed them out to thousands of inmates within 4 different facilities to show the love of Jesus and the love of Flatirons Church and God Behind Bars that Christmas. Since then, on May 11th, we took that same gift and we launched a campus inside of one of the state of Colorado's correctional facility, Lyman Correctional. I know many of you guys have already heard the stories that are coming out of there. Our team showed up alongside of all of the volunteers from your church, and we put on a gourmet dinner to where we fed over 300 men that evening, and then over 300 men taking that next step in attending the weekend service with us and calling Flatirons Church their home. Since then, we've seen thousands of guys show up on a weekly basis to worship alongside of you, to hear the messages that are coming from your guys' church on a weekly basis, and they are really feeling like Flatirons Church is their home. So I just want to say thank you for welcoming them. Thank you for welcoming us and coming alongside of this journey with us to impact thousands of inmates across the state of Colorado. In fact, the director has said that through this partnership and all of the community partnerships that God Behind Bars has formed alongside of Flatirons Church in the state of Colorado, that this is the largest and biggest form of redemption that the State Department of Corrections has ever seen in the history of Colorado. And so I want to say thank you. It's because of you, and we believe that the best is still yet to come. So thank you, Flatirons Church, and we hope to see you soon.
So cool. I mean, this is one of the reasons I love following Jesus, and I love being a part of this place. If I could sum up one of the core missions of who Jesus is and then who we are as a church, it's leave no man behind, all right? And God Behind Bars is leave no man behind, right? I just want to thank you for being the kind of church that will put your time and your talent and your money where your mouth is so that we can do something like this, right? And then for all the men tuning in right now from Lyman, I say this from the bottom of my heart, and I mean it genuinely. I'm humbled to be a part of your church. I'm honored to be a part of your church. Thank you for letting us in. Can we give it up one more time for those guys? All right. That was my eager clap. A couple announcements for you, all right? So we're the kind of church who likes to send people out. All right, so we send people out to plant campuses, whether that's Aurora or Lyman. We send people into the community. We also send people on planes across the world. That's called global missions. And I got a couple announcements about our global missions here. All right, the first one, there are ways you can get involved. The first one's low impact, all right? Meaning you don't have to jump on a plane. It's low impact, which means a lot of us should be able to engage in it. And that is partnering with Musana. All right, Musana is one of our global partners out in Uganda. The more you learn about this partnership, the more you love them. They're incredible. We're good friends with the founders at Musana, and they're about to host one of their largest fundraisers, one of their annual fundraisers. It's called Taste to Transform. All right, it's August 17th, 6 p.m., Taste to Transform. All right, go to the website, musana.org, use the code. You buy a ticket. 100% of your ticket cost goes back into Musana. And then you show up, and you eat great food, and you drink great drinks. All right, that's a reason to go. You get to meet the founders and hear a little bit more about Musana, but it's low impact. All right, so if you're in that phase of life where you got little kids at home, it's really difficult to get on a plane for a couple weeks, that's all right. You can go do this. It's one evening, right? And then you can still go home from that evening and know that, like, you have literally invested. You might not have jumped on a plane, but you have invested in the lives of those kids out in Uganda. So we should be able to get a ton of people to go to that. So please do check it out, musana.org. Sign up there. All right, second announcement is this. We also have higher impact global mission stuff, right? We do short-term trips. That's a week or two at a time. We also do midterm, long-term trips. All right, you might not know this, but we've sent like 10 to 20 people on long-term trips, meaning they bought a one-way ticket and they're still wherever they are, right? So that's a long-term trip. If you're the kind of person who's like got an adventurous spirit and you're like wondering what you could do, how you could serve over the next few years, and that sounds exciting, please get online and check it out. You can also go right out these doors, turn left. There's a big sign that says missions. They can answer questions about long-term trip opportunities we have. Don't worry, they're not going to take your passport today. All right, you're not committing, you're just learning more about it. If you're the kind of person that makes your heart beat fast and you're like, okay, like I could see myself serving Jesus in that way in long term, please go talk to them today. All right, I think that's it. Nope, I got another announcement for you. All right, here's your other announcement. So we're launching a whole other semester of groups here in a few weeks, but we still need leaders. All right, and this is actually, today's your deadline to sign up to be a small group leader. So please, if that's you and you think that all you need to do is love Jesus, love people, that's it. You don't have to be a Bible scholar or anything. If that excites you, you want to be a part of it, please head right out these doors to the group wall. You see a big sign that says groups, and then sign up to be a group leader, all right? Because we do still need leaders. And I know that some of you got scared last time. All right, that's just true, and you know who you are, because I gave the same announcement last week, and you got excited, but then afterwards you got scared, and you threw up a little, and you went home. All right? Today, after service, just throw up a little bit and then sign up and then go home, all right? So we still need group leaders, all right? I think that's it for my announcements. We're in the middle of this series called Our Next Guest, where we're driving out, we're flying out guest speakers that we know, that we trust, that we respect, and we've asked them to come and speak to our community. Last week was a guy named Chad. He did a great job, and we were humbled and honored to have him. Today we have a second guest that we're also honored to have. If you've been going here for a while, you already know him. He's a friend of ours. His name is Carl Cool. All right, Carl's going to get up here and talk to us. He's out at a church in Maryland that Jim is always lovingly referred to as Flatirons East, which is technically stealing. We're trying to steal your church. But we call it that because they got the same passion and heartbeat that we do. Humbled, honored to have Carl up on this stage. In a minute, I'm going to ask that you give him a huge Flatirons round of applause welcome. But before you do that, the band's got one more song, and then we're going to hear from Carl. Let's go.
We are. LA on a Saturday night in the summer, the sundown and they all come out. Lamborghinis and the rented Hummers, the party's on so they're heading downtown. Everybody looking for a come up, and they wanna know what you're about. Me in the middle with that one I love it. We're just trying to figure everything out. We don't fit in well, cause we are just ourselves. I could use some help getting out of this conversation. Yeah, you look stunning, dear, so don't ask that question here. This is my only fear, that we become beautiful people. On designer clothes, front row at fashion shows. What you do and who you know inside the world of beautiful people. Champagne, roll up nose, prenups and broken homes, surrounded but still alone. Let's leave a party. That's not who we are. We are not beautiful. Yeah, that's not who we are. We are not beautiful. LA, drove for hours last night and we made it nowhere. I see stars in your eyes when we're halfway there. I'm not fazed by all them lights and flashing cameras, cause with my arms around you, there's no need to care. We don't fit in well, cause we are just ourselves. I could use some help getting out of this conversation. Yeah, you look stunning, dear, so don't ask that question here. This is my only fear, that we become beautiful people. Top designer clothes, front row at fashion shows. What you do and who you know inside the world of beautiful people.
So that song has this line over and over that says, "We're not beautiful people." And don't get me wrong, Flatirons, you're good looking. But what it's saying is we're not the people who are on TV. We're not on the covers of magazines. We're not flying in private jets. We don't have 10 million followers on Insta. We're just normal, average, broken people trying to figure things out. Hang on to that, because that's where we're going to land today. If we haven't met, my name's Carl, and I pastor a church out in Maryland called Mosaic that Jim does call Flatirons East because he loves us. That's what I'm gonna go with. And he asked me to come out here on Mother's Day. So if you're here on Mother's Day, we learn the prayer together, Jesus help, amen. And I hope you've been using that. I hope that's been helpful for you. Had some parents come up to me last night and say, hey, we taught our little girl, 5-year-old, this prayer. She prays it every day. I said, great, now she thinks you're a genius and spiritual mentor to her. That's awesome. But I'm excited to be back. I love this church. I love this state. Whenever I get to teach anywhere, I kind of go on this assumption. And I know, assumptions are dangerous, all that. But here's my assumption, is I think you're here because you want something to get better in your life. I think that's why you're here, is you need something to get better. And I don't know what it is. It could be a job thing, like maybe you need a job. Maybe you need a job that pays more money. Maybe you have a job that pays money and you just don't like it. Maybe you need your marriage to get better. Maybe you're single and want to be married. Maybe you're married and want to be single. I don't know. Maybe it's a parenting thing where you long to be a parent, or you are sick of being a parent. Maybe it's a school thing and you're trying to figure out where to go or what to major in. I don't know what it is, but I think you're here because you want your life to get better. In fact, even those of you who came in reluctantly, like I'm gonna accept the invitation just so they'll get off my back and I'll never have to attend again. This will be my one thing just to say I went and so they can stop nagging me. I don't think you'd be here if there wasn't at least like 0.1% of you that said, maybe Jesus can help. Maybe church can help. But here's the thing. In order for your life to get better, something has to change. Like if you always do what you've always done, you always get what you've always got. If I want to be somebody I'm not tomorrow, that means I have to act different today. If I want to go somewhere tomorrow that I can't today, that means I got to change something. But I don't like change. Even good change I don't like, because all change is hard. I did see this picture on the internet that said, everybody wants to change the world, but nobody wants to change the toilet paper. And that is true, the struggle is real. Which, just as an aside, since we're on the topic, there are two types of people in the world. There are people who put the toilet paper over, facing out, and the people who are wrong. Yeah. See, I knew I was in the right place. And for those of you not clapping, I have another picture to show you. It's the first patent application of the toilet paper roll, and it specifically shows the toilet paper roll goes out, not under. Okay. If you put the toilet paper under, you're a freak, but this is a church for freaks, so we're glad you're here. But today I want to talk about a specific thing we can do, a specific change we can make that would be a hard change for a lot of us, but that if we do it, according to Jesus at least, it'll make our lives better. And when I mentioned it to the team, they were really excited about it because with this topic, if people get this wrong, it controls them. But if people get it right, Jesus sets them free. I want to talk today about giving. Now, I know, if you brought first-time guests, you're thinking, you've got to be kidding me. The one time my guest actually says yes to my invitation is the one time the whole year we're talking about giving in church. This is unbelievable. You've got to be kidding. So let me just take a couple minutes and talk to everybody whose sphincter just clenched a little bit. You know who you are. Today is a great time to be a guest. Today is a great time to be here if you don't follow Jesus, if you are skeptical, even cynical of church, if you're new at whatever campus you're at, watching online, this is a great day to be here. Here's what's so great about this, is you can completely ignore today's teaching and God's love for you will not change. You can completely ignore all the teachings of Jesus when it comes to money and he will still love you more than life itself. See, here's the most important Bible verse at this place for the past many years, as long as I can remember, Romans 5:8. And it goes like this: but God demonstrates his own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. And the word sinner, here's what that means. It means all those times where you've thought, God, I know what you want me to do. I'm gonna do something else instead. And you could never have read the Bible, you may have never been in church, but you've had those moments. And that word still means that Jesus looked at you while you were doing the worst thing you'd ever do, the thing that you regret more than any other, the thing that you've never told anybody else, even those closest to you, even the habits you persist in right now that are destructive to you and to other people. And Jesus looked at you and said, I'll die for that because I love you. And he loved you more than his own life. He died on the cross to take your sin on him. And the deal on the table is this. If you want forgiveness, if you want freedom, the way I like to say it is if you want endless second chances, all you have to do, the only thing you have to do is have faith in Jesus. That means you believe he's who he says he is, and you get freedom, grace, endless second chances. And then, once you follow Jesus, it's not like at that point you gotta earn your keep. It's not, well, it's grace when I come to Jesus, but then I'm on my own. It's not a bait and switch. It's not, once I know Jesus, I gotta be perfect and act like a Christian. We've talked about that before. Today is not, now is when I feel guilty, now is when I get kicked out, now is when God's disappointed in me. God is never disappointed in you. It's grace when I come to Jesus. It's grace when I walk with Jesus. It's grace with money, grace with marriage, grace with arrogance, just always grace. So if you are brand new, if you are skeptical of Jesus, I don't think it's an accident that you came for the giving talk, because what you need to hear is you can ignore everything for the next 20 minutes and God will love you the absolute same, and that's worth thinking about. So if you came in here beat down, failed again, cheated again, lashed out again, lazy again, Jesus still has you. You can still have grace. It's still there. He loves you, and nothing you can do can change that. And I think that is worth clapping about. But I'll say this, if you're skeptical, I think it's worth leaning in, because Jesus teaches on this because he wants to set you free. So if you're in debt up to your eyeballs, if money controls you, if you never have enough, if you spend like crazy or hoard like crazy, if money is just an issue that causes trouble in your life, I think Jesus is going to teach you something today that'll set you free. So here's what he says. A guy named Luke writes this down for us. It's in Luke chapter 12. Jesus is going about his day one time, and then someone called from the crowd, "Teacher, please tell my brother to divide our father's estate with me." Now, people tell me the Bible's irrelevant, so I know you probably cannot imagine a society where people fought about an inheritance and where money came between family relationships and family relationships were destroyed over money. Just go with it. Jesus replied, "Friend, who made me a judge over you to decide such things as that?" Translation, leave me out of it. Then he said, "Beware, guard against every kind of greed. Life is not measured by how much you own." Then he told them a story. So he's talking to the whole crowd. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. He said to himself, "What should I do? I don't have room for all my crops." Then he said, "I know. I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have enough room to store all my wheat and other goods. I'll sit back and say to myself, 'My friend, you have enough stored away for years to come. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry.' But God said to him, 'You fool, you'll die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for?' And Jesus adds, 'Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God.'" That's it. A couple things I want you to notice in this story. First, it doesn't say a person's a fool to store up earthly wealth. It says a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. In other words, money isn't inherently evil. You just got to keep it in perspective. Here's how I say it. Money's a tool. It's like a hammer, right? I can use a hammer and build somebody a house who doesn't have a place to live, or I can take a hammer and beat somebody over the head with it and injure them. Nothing wrong with the hammer. It's in how I use it. It's just a tool. So you're not a fool to store up wealth. The Bible talks a lot about planning and saving, but Jesus says you are a fool if your hope is in wealth, in money, and not in the grace of God. The other thing I want you to notice is when Jesus said, "Beware, guard against every kind of greed." Here's how I say it. Money is a tool, but also money is a drug. Drugs can be good or bad. Drugs can take away my pain. That's good. But drugs can also be addictive. And if they're addictive, look out, because they'll control you. They'll destroy you. So basically in this story, Jesus is giving a warning. He's saying, listen. Money has so much power. And you can use it for good or you can use it for evil. It can be something that helps you or it can be something that controls you. So throughout the Bible, because money is so powerful, God says, because it's so powerful, he wants us to practice generosity. So here's how I want to flesh this out. Let me set it up with a quick story. I was at the gym not too long ago. I know you can tell. And you weren't supposed to laugh at that. I was on the bicep machine, just kind of minding my own business, and there's a guy next to me. I'm not really paying attention to him. He's not paying attention to me, not somebody I've ever talked to before. He's doing some exercise that I don't really notice. But then I kind of notice because somebody else, and I've seen this guy do this before, walks up to this guy and says, oh no, man, you don't want to do it like this, do full extension, and then you can get the full workout, blah, blah, blah. And the first guy says, no, I'm actually trying to do this, and he kind of corrects him, but the first guy argues and says, no, man, you want to do the full extension, give me the bar, I'll show you how to do it. And the other guy argues with him, and they kind of go back and forth a couple times, and then the interrupter goes on to interrupt somebody else, I guess. But the guy next to me is pretty agitated, I can tell, because he just starts pacing right in front of me where I'm taking a break between my reps, and he's kind of venting by muttering to himself under his breath. And then I hear him say, I'm an Olympic athlete. So at this point, I got to speak up. I said, you're an Olympic athlete? And he was kind of embarrassed. He got caught. He said, yeah, I run track. And I said, what do you run? He said, the 800 for Nigeria. And I kind of look him up and down, and he looks like he runs the 800 for Nigeria. He is lean, he's built, just not too much, but like a track athlete should be. And it's obvious he knows exactly what he's doing in his workout. And he has somebody come up who doesn't know his name, doesn't know his story, doesn't know his background, doesn't know his goals. And he says, hey, I'm here to tell you what you should do. Didn't go over too well. So I don't want to be today like Captain Interrupter at my gym. I don't know your story. I don't know your struggles. I don't know what kind of debt you have or what kind of generosity you already practice. I don't know your relationship with Jesus. I don't know what you've read about Jesus talking about generosity before. So the last thing I want to do is fly out here and say, hey, I'm here to tell you what to do with your money. So here's what I'm going to do instead. I have found freedom in this area by following what Jesus says about giving. So over the next few minutes, I just want to tell you, here's some reasons I give. And if you want to run with them, great. But I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm just going to tell you what I do, okay? So first reason I give is this. I give so I know I'm growing. And here's why. Because anything in life, if you don't know you're experiencing growth, it's frustrating and you want to give up. So in a hobby, if you're not getting better in a subject at school, anything in life, if you're not experiencing growth, you want to give up. For example, I play golf once a year. And I love golf. I love watching Tiger Woods. I love when I get to go out and golf. I just don't have the time and money to golf and get good at it. I got 4 kids, so I don't have the resources to make the necessary investment. I can't afford the good equipment. I can't afford lessons. I don't have the time to golf multiple times a week, which is what it would take to get good at golf. But I love going, so I make it out about once a year. So I think it was last year, 3 guys invite me out, and they golf all the time. They're good. They're better than I am. They also have money, so I know they're going to pay. So when they invite me, I go out with them, and we get to the first hole. And keep in mind, they're all better than I am. And I get a par on the first hole. And I get a better score than all the other 3 guys on the first hole. So I'm walking off the green thinking, Tiger Woods, look out, here I come, baby. You know how many pars I got the rest of the day? 0. You know why? Because golf is stupid. And you can clap for that. In fact, this was about a month or 2 ago. I took my 7 and 10-year-old boys mini golfing, and they're really competitive with each other. And I think it was the 10-year-old was standing over his putt, and it was really close, and he missed it, but he just froze there. And I'm like, what's he doing? Why is he not moving? He's not looking up. He's not, hitting his ball in the hole. What's going on? Finally, he looks up at me, and he's got tears in his eyes. And no lie, this is a direct quote. He goes, Dad, who invented golf? And I'm a good dad, so I said, Satan. Satan invented golf because he hates you. My point is, if you don't experience constant improvement in something, it's frustrating. And here's the thing, there are a whole lot of things in following Jesus that I just can't tell if I'm getting better. There's no number on if I'm gossiping less. There's not data on joy in my life. There's not like a love meter on how I'm serving the poor. But one thing I can point to is my giving and know I'm relying on God. See, the Apostle Paul wrote a long time ago, teach those who are rich in this world, and that's us by the world's standards. Doesn't feel like it, but it is. Not to be proud, not to trust in their money, which is so unreliable. Their trust should be in God, who richly gives us all we need for our enjoyment. So I wouldn't say that if you don't give, you're not growing. I just know for me, a way I know I'm growing is that I practice generosity. And I'm not saying what you have to, I'm just saying what I do. Second reason I give is I give because it helps me manage money better. And here's what I mean. I'm from Kentucky, so I'm a pretty basic guy. I'm not a very smart guy. I need some help figuring things out in life. In fact, just to kind of illustrate this, I don't know if you saw this viral video of this guy from Kentucky on a news broadcast. Watch this.
Neighbors along Patton Spur Road are still, well, buzzing about what happened.
Well, I just had got done feeding my chickens, watering them and stuff, and I walked back to my house there to get my phone so I could play a video game on it. And all of a sudden, I heard a big boom. I looked back out my door, and the electric pole fell, and the lines were falling.
He didn't know it, but he found out that there was a hive of bees that was located there.
And there's a guy come out screaming and squalling and running around about like a chicken with his head cut off.
Anderson then says they ran up the road, grabbed a hose outside his home, and started trying to spray off the bees.
I told him he needed to get out of that water, but say I didn't know he was getting eaten up by bees. I thought he was just high.
You can laugh at that, but that's my people right there. I'm a basic guy. I need some basic help. My team didn't know how to spell squalling, so they just, I need some basic help. So what God teaches is the first domino in good money management is generosity. And that's not what I would think. Like if you ask me, Carl, what are the first principles I should use in managing money well? I would say, well, first get out of debt, and maybe second, secure your housing situation. But God says, no. In fact, one time he says these ancient farmers, he says, as you harvest your crops, bring the very best of the first harvest to the house of the Lord your God. He says, bring the best and first to me. So does God want me to get out of debt? Yeah. Does God want me to have a place to live? Yeah. But God's trying to teach me, this is a drug, man, and it will control you. So the first step in money management is having the right perspective, which recognizes it all comes from God. And yes, I worked for it. I earned that paycheck, but God could change all that tomorrow and take it away tomorrow. So God says, if you put me first in your finances, it will be a domino effect on everything to do with money that will help you manage it well. God says, if you get this right, everything else with money will be so much easier. An author named Mark Batterson says, God can do more with my 90% than I can do with 100%. And I've just found that to be true. And this is why the message at Flatirons has never been, just give all your money away. The message has always been, we want to help with all your finances. So if this whole talk makes you uncomfortable, if you're skeptical of this place, give your money somebody else. Give your money somewhere else. And if you're thinking, I'd love to be generous if I didn't have so much debt, great. We'll help you get out of it. We have this financial workshop planned for Saturday, October 5th. We're planning it well in advance so you can get it on your calendar today. And this is for people whose money controls you instead of you controlling your money. This is a very simple, practical workshop for anybody who needs help so you can sign up, get help, get free. Now, next reason I give, and remember, I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just telling you what I do. I give because I want to teach myself to follow God. And here's what I mean. Jesus says this fascinating thing one time. He says, where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. And we try to reverse this. We act like it's heart then treasure, but Jesus says it's treasure, then heart. And I wish it was heart, then treasure, because then generosity would be easy, because I could just wait to get emotionally worked up about something, and I'd give to that, and then I wouldn't have to give again until I was emotionally worked up about something again. I wish it was emotion, then action. We want it to be heart, then treasure, because it would just be easier to give as our emotions led us. But here's why I'm glad that Jesus is right. Because if it was heart, then treasure, then you know what the best motivator for anybody anywhere to motivate you to give would be? It'd be guilt. If it was heart, then treasure, the best motivation for giving would be guilt. Because I could just make you feel really guilty, it would stir your emotions, and then you'd give. In fact, a lot of people try this. I don't know if you remember, a few years ago on TV, there was this commercial that aired like all the time that did this. You remember this? Right? You saw this? And she's got the dog in her lap. And she insinuates, like, if you don't give to this organization right now, every dog on the face of the planet will drop dead and it will be your fault. Right? Even comedian Jim Gaffigan was like, even the dog's like, Sarah's a little heavy-handed, don't you think? Like, just cut it off. Cut the music off, please. But here's what I learned is through that fundraising, through that commercial, that organization, it was the most successful fundraiser they'd ever done. They raised $30 million. Unbelievable. I think people are just like, I'll give you my money if you stop saying that song. But here's the point is guilt can make you give for a while. What that organization didn't take into account is, hey, this may work really well, but then once it's kind of run its course, we're just gonna have to come up with a better, more guilt-inducing way if we wanna give people to give more, because they're just gonna move on to the next organization that can figure out how to make them feel guilty. See, a healthy organization never uses guilt to give, because then you'll just have to make them feel guilty again. And because Jesus says it's not heart then treasure, it's treasure then heart. In fact, Gallup found this. Americans who give as their emotions lead them, on average, give 40% less each year than Americans who pre-plan a percentage of what they will give. So what I need is a system. Because if I don't have a system in anything in life, things just fall apart. Not too long ago, I went to this like high-tech machine to get my body fat tested. I was like this contraption. You walked inside and had this like 360-degree scan and took your weight and all different kinds of things. And then they spit out a number and say, here's your body fat percentage. And I've been running, I've been lifting weights a little bit. And so I was excited to see what this was. But when I spit out the number, I wasn't too excited anymore. I texted a couple friends of mine. One of them sent me this picture on text back. And I responded, yeah, let's just say I'm not the 6%, okay? That's what we'll go with. And I just turned 40, and so I'm like in my head about getting old, and I'm not healthy, and I'm, need to change some stuff. So immediately, like starting that moment, walking out of that place, I decide I'm gonna start eating healthy. And my wife can kind of tell even over the next couple days, we don't have a conversation about it, but she can see I'm like not eating the carbs and I'm not eating dessert and something's going on there. So she says a couple days into this, she says, hey, I can tell you're eating healthy. What's your plan? And I said, I don't have a plan. And shut up. and she kind of looks at me and goes, well, you know better than anybody, if you don't have a system, this ain't gonna work. And I didn't say anything. I just thought, I'm gonna show her. So that was on a Thursday. You know where I was on Saturday? The McDonald's drive-thru eating a Big Mac. And then that night, I opened our freezer, and there was cookies and cream ice cream, the best ice cream known to man, delivered by God himself, so I had to do something with it. But if I don't have a system, nothing will happen, right? I'll get motivated and emotional for a couple days, but nothing will last. This is why with money, I have my retirement taken automatically out of my paycheck. It's why with money, I have as many bills on auto pay as I can. Because if I have to remember, I gotta save for retirement, I gotta pay the phone and pay the mortgage, all that stuff, it's just not, something's gonna fall through the cracks. It's not gonna happen. I need an easy system. This is why the majority of people who give here at Flatirons give online. They put it on repeat, it's a priority, it's done, it's not emotional, it's not guilt, it's just a pre-decision to be generous. So here's the one part of today where I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just gonna make a suggestion if you want to live out what Jesus is saying. If you wanna live out what Jesus is saying, take a chance. I would suggest following so many people's example in this place and set up online giving at flatirons.church.com/giving. You go there's a real simple button you click right in the middle of the page about setting up recurring giving. It's simple to set up. And here's the deal. Normally, we have offering buckets in the back of every campus, and at the end of service, we'll say, hey, if you want to give, the offering buckets are there for you to give. But if what I'm about to say doesn't convince you that today is not about guilt, I don't know what will. There's no offering buckets this week. Like, they're not there. You can't give at the offering buckets today. And we did that for a couple different reasons. One of them is it just feels kind of weird to have this whole talk on giving and then at the end be like, and don't forget to give on your way out, ladies and gentlemen. But somebody did say, well, almost half of the offering comes in through those buckets. We could be in like financial trouble if we do this. But then somebody else said, well, why don't we just let the Flatirons people be the Flatirons people that they are and see how they respond? And here's the other reason for no buckets today is I didn't want to give you an easy out that would let you feel like you're following Jesus when you didn't create a system. Here's what I mean. I didn't want you to put $20 in there on your way out and think, okay, lived out that talk, let's move on with our life. Because think about this. What happened the last time you followed Jesus for 5 minutes? Nothing. Everything with change in your life requires a good system. So if this place is your home, I would suggest today, maybe before you leave, set up regular online giving at flatironschurch.com/giving. Make it regular, make it automatic, make it generous. And this isn't a guilt trip. This is just, hey, if you want to jump on board with this, here's the easiest way to create a system so you can know you're growing and following Jesus. Now, last reason I give is I give because I want to be part of the church. And I know it's popular to bash the church today. I know we could go around this room and we could be here for hours and hours and hours with the story. But I have this saying with church that I tell myself sometimes. It goes like this: I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Like whenever I see anything good with the church, I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Here's what I mean, is in, I think it's John chapter 6, Jesus says, hey, if anybody comes to the Father has to draw them. Like I can't cause that. God has to do something in their heart. But in another place in the Bible, the Apostle Paul says, when you're using what you have to further God's love for people through the church, he says, you're part of the body, meaning I'm part of that. So I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Which means every time I hear about what's happening with Musana, I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Every time I see a baptism, I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Every time I see a kid laughing in kids ministry, I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. Anytime I see a guy walking in with his arms crossed, knowing he's the guy whose wife dragged him and he does not want to be here. He wants to be anywhere else on earth. But I think God may just grab him today. I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that. So when I give, I don't wish, I don't hope, I know I'm a part of that. And you know what this is like. Because last December, Jim stood right here and he said, hey, Flatirons, I got this crazy idea. I found this ministry you've never heard of called God Behind Bars. And then he said, there's a whole bunch of people who are just like us. The only difference between them and us is they got caught. And when Jim first said that, I thought, well, that's not true. And then I remembered high school. I was like, oh, that's definitely true. But he said, hey, what if we just continue to reach more people who are just like us? And you responded to the tune of $600,000. And now the stories are pouring in. My question is this: what if you didn't just give when there was a special plea, but you decided, I'm going to practice regular, ongoing generosity? Jim likes to call the church I get to pastor Flatirons East, and the real reason is because when we grow up, we want to be like you. And I think we're getting there because the stories I hear from our community are just a bunch of broken, not beautiful people who need grace, is the bottom line. I'll tell you about a couple of them. I have a buddy of mine I work out with, And he recently told me he hadn't gone, in the last 2 years, he hadn't gone more than 4 days without either looking at porn or using an app to hook up with a stranger, but he serves and attends every week because he needs and gets grace. I have a gay friend who grew up in a church that used the Bible as a weapon and just beat him over the head with it over and over. So he said, Carl, my first question literally every day when I wake up is, God, am I an abomination? And so we have lunch every so often so I can remind him, hey, for all of us, it's not our sexuality, it's grace that defines us. A pastor woman who came to church, got clean from her addiction, got baptized, got involved, everything was going great, but then her baby daddy got out of prison, and they got together again, started getting addicted again, got pregnant again, made other poor life choices, and she just kind of dropped off the face of the earth. So I reached out to her and I said, hey, haven't seen you in a while. She said, yeah, I can't be there. And I said, no, this is where you need to be. And so now with her pregnant, addicted self, she's coming every week because she needs grace. I had a friend last year who watched his wife die of cancer young. And he loves Jesus. But he said, Carl, how does God's grace get me through this? I didn't have a good answer for him. But he's with us trying to figure it out. I have a friend who said, I'm alive and did commit suicide because of this place. That's grace. There was a woman who buried her husband after they overdosed together who just told me she's 60 days clean. That's grace. There's a group of women at a local rehab place where I live who are trafficked against their will, but they come every week because they need and get grace. And you know what the world calls people like us? Not beautiful people, outcasts. And you know what outcasts need? Grace. So let me land the plane with this. I was doing my daily Bible reading a few months ago, and just reading like a chapter of the Bible, and I saw a new name of God. And to be frank, the chapter I was reading was really boring. I was like, I don't know why this is on the Bible, God. And then this phrase leapt off the page at me. And when I say a new name of God, here's what I mean. Is in God's story, what you see sometimes is people have a unique interaction with God where he does something for them in a unique way, and then they refer to him going forward in referencing that encounter. So there's a story of how God provided for somebody in a unique way, and they call him Jehovah Jireh. They say, you're the God who provides. And then when Jesus is born, it's God come to earth to be with us. So they say, well, let's call him Emmanuel, because that name means God is with us. And so I saw this new phrase, and I looked it up in the Hebrew language, and it looks like this. And if you spoke Hebrew, you'd say it like this: Adonai, Yehovah, Kalvatz, Nadach. Kind of get stuck in your throat there. Adonai, Yehovah, Kalvatz, Nadach. But in English, here's what it means. The Lord God who brings back the outcasts. The God who brings back the outcasts. So while I'm in prison, every time we see a picture of you, we're encouraged because we know we follow the God who brings back the outcasts. When I go to Crucible, the God who brings back the outcasts. When I see a tattoo wall, I'm reminded, God who brings back the outcasts. When I hear of yet another person saying, I'm buying a one-way ticket to go tell people about Jesus, the God who brings back the outcasts. And when I'm lazy, when I mess up again, when I manipulate my wife, when I scream at my kids, when I make them fear me, when I fall to that same thing again, when I despise myself, when I have that voice in my head that says, Carl, give up. I need Adonai Yehovah Kalvatz Nadach. I need the God who brings back the outcast, because that's me. And Jesus' message for you is you're not too far gone. You are not too bad, too messed up, too addicted, too divorced. You have not made too many mistakes. You are not too lazy or too dysfunctional or too anything. He says, I will bring you home. He says, I will give you grace. I will give you heaven. I will give you the church, and I'll give you a better way to do life right now. And that's why I'm generous. It's not because I have to, because I want to. And grace is for you regardless of what you do with money. So if any of this turns you off to Jesus, ignore it, because Jesus wants you more than he wants your money. But if you want to say, I didn't cause that, but I'm a part of that, then take a chance and see what happens. But no matter what, know that Jesus gives you grace. Let's pray. Jesus, we're not beautiful people. We're broken people. And we know that, and you know that better than we do. So Jesus, I think that's why we're here. It's because we need something, and that something is you. That something is another chance. That something is endless second chances. So Jesus, I just thank you again that when I come to you, I don't have to get my act together. I don't have to clean it up. It's not a bait and switch where it's grace before and then I'm on my own. It's just grace before, it's grace during. It's always grace. So God, I thank you that you're not the God who brings back certain people. You're not the God who brings back people who've jumped through enough hoops and done enough church services or given enough money. You're just the God who brings back the outcast, because God, that's us. And that's why we worship you now. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
People come together, strangers, neighbors, our blood is one. Children of generation, of every nation, of kingdom come. So don't let your heart be troubled. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. Yeah! Together, here we go. Jesus, our redemption and our salvation is in His blood. Oh, we say, Jesus, light of heaven, our friend forever, His kingdom come. Yeah. So don't lay your heart trouble. Hold your head up high, don't fear no evil. Fix your eyes on this one truth: God is madly in love with you. So take courage, hold on, be strong. Remember where our help comes from. We join with the heavens, we join with all creation, breathing out our praise for this God of such good grace. There we go.
Swing wide, all you heavens, let the praise go up as the walls come down. All creation, everything with breath, repeat the sound. All His children, good grace.
friend forever, his kingdom come. Yeah! So great to worship with you this morning, Flatirons. There'll be prayer down the front. If that would be helpful for you, I encourage you to take that up. We love you guys. Have a great week. We'll see you next time.